Welcome back to the At the Helm podcast, where we steer through everything from sports to superheroes. I'm your host, Blake Helms. And today, I'm going to be talking about the greatest spectacle in all of entertainment, the grandest stage of them all, the showcase of the immortals. I am talking about WrestleMania. Specifically, this episode, I'm going to be discussing Night 1, aka WrestleMania Saturday, because that's a big event in and of itself with 7 matches this year. And then in a future episode, I'm going to discuss Night 2, which had 6 matches. Before I go into the events of Night 1 of WrestleMania 42, just a quick reminder to like the video, subscribe for more, ring the bell for notifications. There's this hype video thing. If you want to hype up my video, maybe help it get views, do that. Share it with your friends, family members, whoever. If you like the video, yeah, just help support me. Help me get this out there. Help me make this a little bit more of a successful endeavor. All right, getting into it. WrestleMania Night 1. Start off the show. You have the hosts for this year's WrestleMania, the greatest of all time, John Cena, comes out and not in the jorts shirt and hat, but in a full-blown suit. He doesn't run to the ring. He walks and then does a little bit of a light jog just because it's a really long ramp. But just does a quick welcome to WrestleMania. He does this Night 2 as well. And then we're off for it. First hour of the show was on ESPN2 on WrestleMania Saturday. And then the rest of it was on the ESPN Unlimited plan app, which is unfortunately expensive, but darn TKO. First match of the night, the Usos, Jimmy and Jay, and LA Knight, versus the World Tag Team Champions, The Vision, made up of Logan Paul and Austin Theory, and famous streamer IShowSpeed. A lot of celebrities in this year's WrestleMania. The Vision had a cool entrance. It had this big white kind of banner with the Vision logo, a golden Vision logo on it, which was pretty sweet when they came out. And then they actually start off. Usually, celebrities when they get involved in matches, they're kind of the ones that get a hot tag, kind of towards the end of the match after the actual wrestlers kind of did the heavy lifting in the match, and so they get in late, just kind of do maybe a cool thing, take some damage, get a cool spot. They get their money's worth. But for this one, IShowSpeed actually started the match because immediately the Usos just super kicked Theory and Logan Paul, so leaving IShowSpeed and LA Knight. And if you're one of the 5 people on the planet who didn't see it, IShowSpeed, after his initial involvement on Monday Night Raw, got thrown into his monitor setup on one of his live streams by LA Knight, and so they started the match off, and respectably, Speed did a couple cool things. He did a quick jumped up to the top rope, did a little flip before, and he did actually hit LA Knight with a body slam at one point, but LA Knight was toyed with him. There was this one funny part. I think it was literally the first thing that they did. Speed put Knight in a bit of a headlock, and Knight just stood up, lifting him up, just Speed just dangling in the air while grabbing onto his head. But yeah, it was pretty quick. Speed got a bump or two in, and then he tagged in, whoever it was, Paul or Theory, one of the two, one of his partners, and then the wrestlers, did most of the rest of the work with just tags between LA Knight and the Usos, Paul and Theory doing their thing. Jay hit one of his better spears. Jay Uso has a famously poor spear that just, doesn't really look good. Austin Theory did a really good sell that made it look good. That's the thing with wrestling moves. It's not always just the person delivering it, although that is a lot. But the person taking the move can make a poor delivery look great if done right. Eventually, Speed got back involved into the match again. And then LA Knight tried to hit his blunt force trauma BFT finisher on him, but to escape, Speed shoved LA Knight and accidentally into his tag team partner, Logan Paul, which knocked him off the apron, which Austin Theory wasn't happy about, got upset there. And then I believe, I can't remember if it was one of the Usos. Yeah, one of the Usos shoved Speed into Theory and then which gave LA Knight the shot to hit a BFT, giving the Usos and LA Knight the win in that match. And then afterwards is kind of where a little bit of the more fun and maybe the stuff you saw on social media happened. Logan Paul was upset. He cost them their match. Logan Paul is a bully. He's the bad guy in every way. You can be a bad guy if you're a professional wrestler. So Logan Paul attacked Speed, set him up on the announce table. He was going to do a frog splash onto him. But then LA Knight and the Usos turned things around, attacked Paul, which allowed Speed to do it instead. And Speed got his viral moment. He got his main WrestleMania moment, frog splashing from the top of the ring post onto the announce table on the ground, which definitely hurt those ribs. But yeah, it was an okay match. Some fun moments. The fun moments more so were after the match. But yeah, I give it a grade of a B-. But this match wasn't supposed to be a 5-star classic. It was just supposed to be fun. It had names for people to get viewers on to the ESPN2 for WrestleMania. Maybe convince some people who like those people to buy into WWE and WrestleMania as a whole to get that ESPN Unlimited plan to watch WrestleMania. But yeah, like B- because, I'm not going to give it an A because there have been better this kind of matches before, but I'm not going to rank it a D even though it wasn't a technically great match because it's not what it was meant to be. That's, it's just wasn't the point of said match. And that's the beautiful thing about wrestling. Not everything needs to be a technical 5-star classic. You can just have finisher fesses. You can just have car crashes. And you can have 5 stars in both of them that are equally great. Moving on to the second of the 2 matches that were on ESPN2, you have the unsanctioned match of the Samoan Werewolf Jacob Fatu versus the Scottish Warrior Drew McIntyre. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what an unsanctioned match is, unsanctioned means no countouts, no disqualifications, pinfall submission in the ring, only way to win, like a lot of no disqualification, no countout matches. The key difference is that in kayfabe, on screen, on camera, WWE is not liable for anything that goes on in these matches. Basically, they're able to do whatever they want to each other at no cost to the company, kind of thing. So I guess in a normal street fight, there's limitations, but basically unsanctioned means that this is a match that's going to be able to get really gnarly and really gross and violent and stuff. So, which, they definitely put this on ESPN2 to, for those more extreme fans to, extreme people that like violence, get them involved because, hey, you like violence? Watch wrestling. It's violent kind of thing. Start off the match. I mean, actually, not really start off the match. While Drew was in the process of doing his entrance, Jacob suicide dove onto Drew, and then I can't remember if they waited till they were both in the ring for the bell to ring, and they just kind of, because it's unsanctioned, there's no rules with it, so just ring the bell. What the heck? There's no point not to. And then after a little bit of brawling, Jacob immediately started getting the weaponry out. He got got a couple tables, some chairs, brought the PTSD of Drew McIntyre with a toolbox, dumped a bunch of wrenches into the ring. For those of you who don't know what I'm referencing, a couple years ago, Drew McIntyre had a Hell in a Cell match with CM Punk where a toolbox was used that just made a big gash in Drew's forehead where he had to get a bunch of staples. And there was so much blood, it was crazy. But while Jacob was getting out the toys, Drew had time to recover, and he used this. He threw the ring apron, the little apron was pulled up, so he threw Jacob into the metal that's underneath the ring to support it, and then he got Jacob into his position to just catapult him into said steel, which didn't look fun. And then right after this, the last couple WrestleManias, Drew's done something, social media wise. Like his usual thing is he's bored at work. 40, he just tweeted bored at work during his match. Last year against Damian Priest, he did a selfie bored at work during the match. This year he did a video thing, just like I haven't seen the whole thing, but he says I love WrestleMania kind of thing, and he actually hit Jacob on the head with the phone. And then eventually, after doing some stuff in the ring, Jacob was sent outside to the other side towards the entrance, and Drew did a bounced off the ropes, and dove over the top. Drew, and for those of you who don't know who Drew McIntyre is, he is a large human being, not like fat and all, but he's 6'5", he's like 280 pounds. He's a Scottish warrior, he's buff insanely buff. He's a large guy to just be jumping over those ropes, which are like, I don't know, 4.5 feet tall, probably. He's like diving onto another person outside the ring, which is, the ring's probably at least 3 to 4 feet tall also. So that, that's a solid drop. Eventually, after getting back in the ring earlier, I can't remember who, I think it was Jacob. He'd set up a chair in between the turnbuckles. Drew got shoved his head first into it. And Jacob did his mighty moonsault or whatever, where he bounces off the middle rope, gets to the top rope, and then does his moonsault, which is just a flip where he lands on his stomach onto his opponent, which no one had ever kicked out of in the WWE in the nearly 2 years he's been around. So Drew became the first to do so when he kicked out of it here. And then afterwards, Drew got the upper hand again. He grabbed one of those wrenches and just started kind of shoving it into the face. I'm sure he was using his hand to protect it because obviously, unless you missed the memo, WWE is a scripted event where, they are doing these things. It's not quote unquote fake. We don't like the F word in the wrestling community, but it's scripted. It's predetermined. They know what they're going to do. For the most part, they get to ad lib a little bit, but Drew shoving that wrench into his face and eventually hit his finishing Claymore kick, which Jacob Fatu kicked out of. And before even that Claymore, Drew set up 2 steel chairs where the seats are facing each other, and he suplexed Jacob onto those chairs. It was a bit of glancing. He only hit the one, glancing off the one, but still, but that chair just buckled underneath Jacob's weight. And then after kicking out of the Claymore, Drew went over to the referee, whose only job in this match is to count the pins. He went over the ref and demanded him to give him the belt that he was wearing. But unfortunately for Drew, before he could start whipping Jacob with the belt, like I'm sure his father used to do to him, Jacob turned it over and then just started berating Drew with just slapping him with that leather belt, which, I doubt Drew's body definitely was showing marks after that the next day. And then eventually Jacob got onto the top ropes a little bit after, these results are slow, but then Drew was able to meet him there, and he shoved him onto the floor where a table had been set up earlier by Jacob Fatu, or Drew. I think it was Jacob, but, threw him through that table, and then got him back into the ring. There's a table set up in the ring as well. Eventually, Jacob hit Drew with the on the head with the toolbox, sent him up onto the table, hit another moonsault. 1, 2, 3. Jacob Fatu wins, which most people saw coming. Most people saw that result of Jacob winning because Drew is filming a movie, always gonna film a movie. I believe Highlander. I could be wrong about that, but he's filming that after WrestleMania, so maybe even right now. So people figured he was gonna lose and get ran off TV for the time that he's filming. And I like this match. It was solid. And maybe it's because the last unsanctioned match WWE had was Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn last year, which was incredibly violent. It was one of my favorite matches of the year. Very hard hitting, very cool. I gave this match, and I'm gonna give this match a B+. Like, it was solid. It delivered on some stuff. Could have been a little bit longer, which is kind of the theme of especially night one, but kind of this WrestleMania in general, aside from the main event matches. They all could use a little bit more time to flush things out really well. But that's always the wish list. And going into WrestleMania, like going into Chamber and other events, I really thought that Drew was champion going into the elimination. Drew lost was WWE champion until he lost to Cody Rhodes a month before WrestleMania. And I really thought both these guys would be in the WWE title picture going into WrestleMania. Like, I figured it was going to be at least a triple threat match between Jacob, Drew, and Cody, because the three of them were fighting for the first couple months of the year between the three of them. And then Randy it also felt like Randy was going to get inserted, especially when he won the Elimination Chamber match. It looked like it was going to become a fatal four-way, which I think would have been great. I was really looking forward to it. And, maybe have Drew lose the title then at WrestleMania, give him a little bit more of a proper run, which he desperately needed. Like, he got a couple months as champion, which were entertaining and fun, but he only had one successful defense, first of all, against Sami Zayn, a guy who literally he's beaten every time that they fought at the Royal Rumble this year. And then, because Drew was champion during the pandemic. That was when he finally got his WWE Championship. He was set up for it. He won the Rumble in January before the world shut down. And then a few weeks before WrestleMania, coronavirus, COVID-19, all that crap happened. So he was forced to win, actually two during the entirety of the pandemic, WWE Championships with no fans. And then he finally got his moment at WrestleMania 40 when he beat Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. He finally won a world title in front of fans, but he got cashed in on 5 minutes later. This was the first time in front of fans he was able to be the world champion for a decent period of time and have success. And I'm really looking forward to Jacob. Heck, I'm filming this the Tuesday after WrestleMania, so Monday Night Raw was last night. Looks like Jacob is getting a world title match at Backlash. So this win isn't going to waste. It's going to further Jacob's career, at least in the short future. In the short term is probably the word I was looking for. But yeah, like, I'm looking forward to when Drew comes back. Drew's amazing. I love Drew. His character work these last couple of years has been some of the best in wrestling. Especially his rivalry with Punk was the highlight of 2024 after WrestleMania 40. That was, the summer blockbuster that year, which is very entertaining. So Drew deserves his moments, and I'm looking forward to when he comes back. Moving on, the rest of these matches were exclusively on the ESPN app. So the general public, unless you had a subscription, could not view them. Starting off with the Women's Tag Team Championship Fatal 4-Way match, you had the champions, the Irresistible Forces, Nia Jax and Lash Legend, versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, two absolute legends, versus Lyra Valkyria and Bayley, another absolute legend, versus the Bella Twins, Nikki and Brie. But there was people were wondering about this for a few weeks, because a few weeks before WrestleMania happened, the Bellas were in a match, and Nikki had gotten her foot caught underneath. I think it was Charlotte, but one of her opponents. But just accidentally, her foot got caught while doing a move, which just bent it the wrong way. And people were wondering, hey, she might not be ready for WrestleMania. Like, that's a short turnaround. And, like, they had this wondering, WWE didn't do anything official going into the show, which made them think, oh, maybe they're going to have a replacement team like the Kabuki Warriors or something. Maybe do a Hardy Boys-esque thing where have Trish and Lita come in like the Hardys did as a surprise at WrestleMania 33. Amazing moment. That was awesome. That was so awesome. But they did it a little bit different than what the Hardy Boys thing. It was somewhat similar though. It was like last year. Kayfabe wise, last year Lyra was challenging the then champions Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez for it. She was originally going to be teamed up with Bayley like she is this year to go for the tag titles, but Bayley got mysteriously attacked backstage, and Lyra got a surprise opponent who was the man Becky Lynch, who ended up being the one who attacked Bayley and betrayed Lyra when they lost the titles the next night. But I digress. This year, since Nikki was out, Brie needed a new partner. They went with another 2010s Divas era who hadn't been in WWE for a while. They went with Paige, who is from when I started watching wrestling, that early 2010s, the butterfly title. You got the Bellas, AJ Lee, Paige. They kind of define that era of wrestling for me, at least. And Paige is a great wrestler. She's a legend in the wrestling community. And she's really young, too. Like, she was very young when she made her WWE debut. And she was kind of that definitive NXT call-up. Really one of the first ones, because 2014, after WrestleMania 30, AJ Lee's, at the time, longest-reigning Divas champion. And Paige, the then NXT Women's Champion, the first ever NXT Women's Champion, makes her debut on Raw and wins the Divas title her first night there, which was one of the first, other than the Shield, was one of the first major NXT call-ups that had kind of immediate success on the main roster. And I don't think anyone's had that kind of success so early. I mean, to be fair, that's really hard. It's the first night. It's the first match. Literally minutes after you walk out on Raw, you are a champion. But yeah, Paige was really young when she's only like 34 now, and when she did that was 12 years ago. Like, she's younger than a lot of the major stars like Charlotte, Alexa, Bayley, the Bellas. She's AJ Lee. She's younger than all of them by a few years. Oh, Becky Lynch, obviously. Like, she's a huge star who's still got a lot to work with. The thing about Paige was she'd been gone from WWE for a while. I can't remember when she actually left officially, like, entirely WWE, but she hadn't competed in a match since 2018 because she wasn't medically clear. She had a big, bad neck injury that really stymied her. She eventually went over to AEW, going by her, I believe, real name, Saraya. I never learned how to actually pronounce it. So she went back there, got cleared, actually wrestled again, and she hadn't been there around for a little while. People have been rumoring her to come back to WWE, especially since AJ Lee came back last year, which was a huge return, that was just awesome. But yeah, this Paige return was so good. It was amazing. I graded the return itself a return for Paige. But then the match actually has to happen, you know. After the happiness of Paige is back, you have a match to go do. Jackson Legend are larger women. Lash Legend was a former women's basketball player. She's really tall. Nia's strong. She's bigger than everyone else in the match. They obviously put forth physical dominance like they had their entire title reign just our careers, really. But then Bayley and Lyra did some good tag team work that I was kind of impressed with. They looked like a legitimate tag team, good tag team chemistry, constant, hit, tag, do offense, tag, stay fresh. That was really good. And eventually got to the point, Brie started the match for their team, so Paige was sitting on the apron for a lot of the match. But then it got to the point where, like, all four women were down, but then the three of them tagged in their partners. I think it might have been tagging in Lash, Charlotte, and I can't remember whether it was Lyra or Bailey or not, but then but after those three start doing their thing, Bree's still crawling towards Paige, finally tags her in, and then she's just, this is her house. She runs things. She nearly pins Lyra with one of her moves, the Paige Turner. But then, when Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch got called up to the main roster, they were in a team with Paige. So then eventually in this match, Charlotte and Paige had their fun back and forth. They had a good moment. That was just like, generations meeting kind of thing between the old Divas era and the modern women's era. And they also have the history also with it. So that was a big deal. Eventually, Charlotte hit her natural selection. She was very careful not to grab Paige's neck to keep her safe, which set up her partner Alexa Bliss to go to the top rope, hit Twisted Bliss, win back those tag titles. But it's a fatal four-way. There's no disqualification. Nikki, while in the match, was at ringside in a boot and crutch. And while Charlotte's standing there waiting for Alexa to hit the move, she grabs Charlotte's leg, pulls her out of the ring, and then just hits her with the crutch. And Charlotte just yelled, "Oh, shit," when that happened, which was pretty funny. Which distracted Alexa enough for Paige to get their knees up, turn it around, and hit her Rampage DDT to win the championship. So, I don't know, it's just kind of a theme with Paige. She shows up for the first time in a while, or first time ever. She wins gold. And Brie Bella and Paige are the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, which I do feel bad for Nikki. I mean, Nikki and Brie are kind of the original tag team, in a sense, if you really want to think about it. They're the original women's tag team, well before there were championships for it. They've never been champions. This is the first time Brie's held those titles, especially the first time Paige has held those titles. Those titles are younger than her last match had been. So yeah, I do feel bad for Nikki. Like, a freak accident happened. Whether Brie and Nikki were going to win the titles, whether that was the plan, I don't know. Like, I'm not Triple H. I can't say that definitively if that was going to be the plan. Maybe we'll find out on if they do another season of Unreal. But yeah, the match was okay. Like, it was like everything. It was shorter. Like, it didn't really build too much steam. Like, it was kind of just like, I really only remember a lot of the stuff that happened after Paige got tagged in. So I gave the match itself a C+, and I would have loved for Nia and Lash to just kind of dominate more of the match, because, that's just kind of their whole thing. They just dominate people. So I would have loved for them to just kind of assert their dominance on their opponents for most of the match, more so than they did. So yeah, amazing return. Gave that an A, but a C+ match. Moving on, you got the Women's Intercontinental Championship, where AJ Lee, the defending champion, goes up against the man, Becky Lynch. And, of course, Jessica Carr, who Becky Lynch has major beef with, was the ref for this match. AJ controlled the early goings until they got outside, and then Becky hit a Beck-sploder suplex onto the barricade, which gave her control. Eventually, Becky, as the bad guy, as the heel, started doing underhanded things where, she went over to one of the turnbuckles, the kind of just meeting points at the ropes, and they have paddings on it. She started taking that padding off to expose the metal underneath. But to much the chagrin of the referee, who immediately started putting it back on while Becky berated her, just calling her corrupt car and all that kind of stuff. And eventually Becky hit her finishing manhandle slam on AJ Lee, but AJ kicked out. Becky eventually got into a shoving match with Jessica Carr over something, whether it was just like Becky was spending too much time hitting AJ in the corner or whatever. And this allowed AJ to put Becky in her finishing Black Widow submission, which had made Becky Lynch tap out 3 times in the last few months. I was there during the Elimination Chamber when AJ won the title using this move. It was awesome. But finally, Becky Lynch was able to wear through the Black Widow, get to the ropes, grab it, force a break. And then Becky went back to doing heel things. She went back to the turnbuckle to start to get the padding off. Eventually, when AJ started to run at her to attack, she shoved the referee in front of them. And then while the ref couldn't see it, she shoved AJ's head into the metal turnbuckle, hit a manhandle slam. 1, 2, 3. Becky Lynch is now a 3-time Women's Intercontinental Champion in a title that has only been a thing for a year and like 3 months, which AJ Lee is part-time. The Intercontinental title is supposed to be workhorse. AJ kind of got it during the time where part-timers can get it, the road to WrestleMania. But even then, like I know she didn't really show up much, and which is fine. Like she can show up whenever she wants, and as long as she does good work, that's okay with me. But that's if she's the world champion, that's a little bit more okay. But the Intercontinental title is meant to be the workhorse championship. It's meant to be regularly defended. It's meant to be the mid-card championship that everybody's going for. So it needs to have a constant presence. A part-time mid-card champion doesn't really work very well. So I'm glad that Becky Lynch got it. I gave this match a B. It like pretty much everything needs more time. I'm interested where Becky goes. She wasn't on Raw last Monday, so I'm interested where she goes with it next week and beyond as the champion who she has rivalries with. And whoever it is, like, whether it's Lyra, no, I can't. I guess I don't know how that works when, Lyra lost a match during Becky's initial reign that she can't challenge for it again. But Becky has lost the title twice and gotten it back since. So I don't know if she still can't challenge for it. Regardless, I'm looking forward to what the fresh faces in the Intercontinental Championship picture. And go from there. Then, a match that didn't have too much of a build, but I knew would steal the frickin' show. Pun intended. Seth frickin' Rollins versus the Ring General, the career killer, the man who retired John Cena, Goldberg, and AJ Styles in the last year, Gunther. Gunther attacked Seth before the bell, immediately hit running dropkick and powerbomb, which is Gunther's finisher, which Seth had to go out of the ring for. And since the bell had not rang, no disqualifications or rules were in effect. So Seth proceeded to throw a couple chairs at Gunther, just to kind of get him off him, just kind of get a breather. And eventually, these two are on opposite sides of the ring, staring at each other. Seth Rollins gives him a good double bird. And then the match is off. Just constant back and forth. These are two of the top wrestlers in the world, which is just kind of the reason the match happens, because this match happened because of injuries to these two's planned original opponents. So they had to just throw this together to get something out of nothing. So Gunther was saying Seth's been ducking him, and he wants to prove he is better than Seth Rollins in the ring. So, back and forth, Gunther with his patented chops, a bunch of hard hits. Gunther tried to do a superplex on Seth Rollins from the top ropes. Seth slid through, got Gunther up, and power bombed him into the turnbuckles, aka a buckle bomb. And then Rollins hit a pedigree and then a stomp, but Gunther kicked out. That's the thing about Gunther. Gunther is a guy who doesn't lose often. He was Intercontinental Champion for a record 666 days. He's been a World Heavyweight Champion twice. He is a man who, he wins a lot, obviously, but it's not necessarily that he's going to dominate the entire match. He dominates portions of it because he's a pretty tall guy who's strong and he's the bad guy, so they just kind of, control the majority of matches. But he doesn't absolutely eviscerate people like a Brock Lesnar. He just can take everything you've got. He'll eat every single one of your best shots, and you just won't beat him. He doesn't stay down. That's the whole point of Gunther. And the mat is sacred. He's got a very methodical style. Chops, hits, kicks, power bombs. And then Seth Rollins tried to roll Gunther up for a pin. Gunther seamlessly transitioned into his padded sleeper hold, which at this point Seth was able to get out of. And while Gunther was going to go for his just giant frog splash from the top rope, Rollins hurried up there, hit him with a superplex directly into a Falcon Arrow. When Gunther kicked out of that combination, which was a beautiful Falcon Arrow, by the way, when Gunther kicked out of that, Seth did it directly into a sleeper hold himself. And Gunther has a history of losing to sleeper holds. I believe he's done it in when he was in NXT under the name Walter to Ilya Dragunov in a banger of a match. And last year he did it when losing the World Heavyweight Championship to Jey Uso. So the sleeper hold is kind of Gunther's weakness. But he got it. He got out of it. Thanks to his long legs, he was able to reach for the ropes. And then afterwards, he got out of the ring. Seth did 2 suicide dives out to him, but on the third, he got caught. Powerbomb onto the corner of the ring, powerbomb onto the announce table. Then Gunther, steps onto the announce table with both of them. He gets prepared, tries to powerbomb Seth onto again. Seth counters, pedigree. Seth goes onto the other announce table, runs, hits a stomp on the career killer. And while the ref is checking on Gunther to make sure he's okay kind of thing, out of nowhere, Seth's original planned opponent, Braun Breaker, a guy I think is the future of the WWE. He's fast, he's strong, he's powerful. He's the guy that nearly murdered ISO Speed at WrestleMania last year. You may know that clip. But he just spears him out of nowhere, does an awesome kick up with just emphatic force, throws Seth into the ring. Gunther puts a sleeper hold. Seth passes out. Gunther is your winner. And after the match, Braun was on the top of the stage. He ran the entire ramp, which was like 50 to 70 yards length, and just speared the out of Seth frickin' Rollins. This match was amazing. I knew it would be. These two don't miss when they have good opponents, or really in general for the most part. I gave it A. It was amazing. Awesome match. I wish these two could fight constantly. I wish these two had these two are going to have a proper rivalry one day. Maybe another WrestleMania match. Maybe next year. Over World Championships. And it's going to be incredible. Then, moving on. You have the Women's World Championship match. Champion Stephanie Vaquer versus the Women's Royal Rumble winner, Liv Morgan. Liv had an entrance inspired by her recent music video that popped out, which is also her new theme song. And Stephanie had a cool entrance where like 1,000,000 rose petals fell from the sky, which is cool. Then during the match, while Stephanie was on the middle rope, facing the outside of the ring, not facing inside of the ring, Liv bounced off the middle ropes to the side of it and directly flipped into a power bomb, which is just a beautiful move of athleticism from Liv Morgan. And Stephanie hit her patented Devil's Kiss, where she just kind of is constantly slamming her opponent's head into the mat, which the internet kind of loves. And Liv tried to do it herself. She set it up. She got a little cocky with it, and if she had hit this, it would have broke the internet, because men. But no. Stephanie countered. Liv eventually hit a code breaker where she just kind of grab opponent's head and drive while as you're falling and drive him into your knees. And as Stephanie's kind of just draped on the ropes, Liv goes for her finishing move Oblivion, where she jumps onto the ropes and just falling back, plants your head into the mat. But she missed, which left her opening for Stephanie to hit an Oblivion of her own, which Liv kicked out of. Not too many people kicked out of the Oblivion. I think it's kind of Rhea Ripley. But then Stephanie went for her finishing move from the top rope, the Vaquer Inferno, where she does a little kind of spiral. It's similar to what AJ Styles once called the spiral tap. She's doing a bunch of different kind of turns in the air, landing on her opponent. But then Liv Morgan's Judgment Day cohorts, Roxanne Perez, distracted the ref, while Raquel Rodriguez, and they hadn't been at ringside the entire time. They showed up here. While Raquel Rodriguez shoved Stephanie off of the top rope, allowing Liv to hit an Oblivion, but Vaquer kicked out, one being maybe only the second person to ever kick out of the Oblivion, besides Liv Morgan herself. Then, I believe just trying to run towards Vaquer, Vaquer moved out of the way, causing Liv to accidentally dive through the ropes onto her Judgment Day partner, Raquel Rodriguez. And then from the ring, Stephanie springboards onto the rope, tries to dive on all three, but Raquel, being a good friend and partner, shoved Liv out of the way, so she only landed on Roxanne and Raquel, which gave the opening for Liv to, while Stephanie celebrates this move, Liv shoves Stephanie into the steps, back into the ring, hits a second Oblivion, 1, 2, 3. As Liv would say, once again, the greatest women's world champion of all time reigns once again. And I love Liv. She's a really interesting person. This is her third world championship run. 2024, her storyline with Rhea and Dominic was must-watch TV at the time. She stole that woman's man. And Dom is still her on-screen boyfriend. They celebrated together, and Dom will be discussed more in the next video for night 2 for his match with the Demon Finn Balor in a street fight. But yeah, what they did in this match was solid, but it just went so quickly. Like this match specifically, I've said this before that matches were short. This match really needed just 5 more minutes, which made me give it a grade of a B, which I think it definitely could have been in the A range had they given a little bit more time, because Stephanie and Liv are both very talented competitors who can show out when given the opportunity. And they've done a good job building this up. But they will have another chance to hopefully get a longer match on a show where WWE's and TKO aren't going to put out as many advertisements, because not quite as many people are going to be watching, which, that's just the thing. It's WrestleMania. Like, more people are going to watch the Super Bowl than a normal Sunday night football game. That's just a fact. That's kind of the equivalent of WrestleMania and most other PLEs, except for like Rumble, SummerSlam, really every PLE, but SummerSlam, Rumble, and Survivor Series get more than most. Then John Cena, continuing his hostly duties, comes out to announce the night's attendance, which I believe was roughly a little over 50,000 in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. But then, surprisingly, the music of Bianca Belair, former women's champion, who has been out with an injury for the last year. Her last match was at last year's WrestleMania in Vegas. 2 years in Vegas is crazy. And she came out to announce that her and her husband, Montez Ford, are expecting, that she's pregnant. And so, which is amazing. Congratulations to her. Unfortunately, that means that's an amazing competitor who's not going to wrestle for at least another year. So, but congratulations. And Montez and his partner, Angelo Dawkins, made their return to Raw after WrestleMania, because Tez needs some more paychecks. But then, moving on to your night 1 main event. For the undisputed WWE Championship, you have the Golden Boy, the American Nightmare, QB1, Cody Rhodes, defending his championship against the Viper, the Apex Predator, the Legend Killer, the most diabolical man that never walked the face of the earth, Randy Orton, accompanied by Pat McAfee for some frickin' reason. Seriously, I love Pat McAfee in general, but why are you here? Damn you, TKO. Stop getting involved in Cody Rhodes' WrestleMania storylines with random people like Travis Scott last year and Pat McAfee this year. Pat McAfee is better than Travis Scott in that he actually cares about the business of wrestling and stuff. And he's been involved before. He was a long time commentator with Michael Cole. A lot of people credit Michael Cole's kind of resurgence for the love of the business to Pat McAfee, which I am eternally grateful for. It's really made each show better. And Pat is a really fun guy to have around. He was a great commentator, always getting on the table, yeeting with Jey Uso. But this story writes itself. This is Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. This is 20 years of history. Cody Rhodes' first match was against Randy Orton. Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes were together, the stable Legacy. At what point, Randy Orton beat Cody Rhodes in a match that got Cody fired, storyline-wise. Like, come on. Pat goes on to attack Cody before the bell and got hit with a crossroads for his troubles. And then Jelly Roll, of all people, And I like Jelly Roll. He actually likes the business, and he does an elbow drop from the other table through Pat McAfee through the announce table, and telling Cody, go have that one-on-one match you deserve, which, thank you, Jelly Roll. The early part of this match focused on this supposed back injury of Randy Orton. Supposedly, and every move Randy did hurt his back. He had to even go outside the ring for a little bit to just kind of reprieve from his injury. But whether it was the superplex, his draping DDT, or he couldn't even properly do his thing where he's turned around and then serves at the mic to set up for the RKO. He just kind of had to drop and do it slowly to not hurt his back. That RKO, I believe, was countered because Randy was so slow doing it. And eventually, when they're outside the ring, Cody pushed Randy into the steel post, and the camera focused on Cody for a little while. So I'm guessing while that was happening, Randy was razor blading, but was gibbing with a razor blade. But yeah, then Randy, they turn back to Randy. His forehead's covered in blood. And then this match, because Randy Orton, when he's the bad guy, is Satan himself, for lack of better words. A lot of this going into WrestleMania, Cody had to go to a place he's never been to before. He had to go to a very dark place, and that was highlighted. Cody was not nice during this match. He wasn't. A lot of this match, he kind of acted as a heel himself, similar to when Randy and Cody fought when they were both good guys in the King of the Ring final last year. That gave Cody Rhodes his opportunity to fight John Cena at SummerSlam for the title to win his second championship. This is his third reign in 2 years, actually. No Rhodes had ever won a WWE championship before Cody Rhodes did at WrestleMania 40. He has now won 3. But yeah, even got to the point where Cody took some blood off Randy's forehead and just kind of smeared it on his chest in front of his dream tattoo he has on his pec, which just says Dream, in memory of his late father, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And then Cody set up for an RKO himself. He did Randy's taunt for it, but instead Randy set him up for a crossroads. Some funny facial reactions. Hit him with it. 1, 2, kick out for Cody. And eventually Cody also, I'm not sure exactly when, I don't know if Randy gave him a boot or something, but Cody also started bleeding during this match. So there was a lot of blood during the match, which I love. I like when matches get bloody like that. That was fun when it made each opponent look like they'd actually been in a legit fight, especially at the end. And later Cody did hit an RKO on the Viper, Randy Orton, which Randy, of course, kicked out of. And then later in the match, Randy was his mentor. In a very Randy Orton move, Cody put a thumb to the eye of Randy, which, blinded him. I guess he saw blind. Accidentally RKO'd the referee of the match. And during this happened, the referee's down. You can do whatever you want. Randy, similar to when he turned on Cody at the start of this rivalry, went to kick Cody Rhodes in the place where the sun don't shine. Cody caught it. He'd been through this road before with John Cena. He delivered one himself, and then he went up to the top rope to jump back and do a Cody cutter, which is kind of a similar to an RKO move. But Randy caught it with an RKO, but the ref was down. No one's there to count. And then you see camera cuts to the entrance ramp. Pat McAfee's running down to the ring in a referee shirt with a neck brace on. And then for a guy who was hell-bent on Randy Orton winning this match and walking out as WWE champion, he did the slowest count, and Cody kicked out. And then after that, Randy's like, destroy him, Randy. Kill everything, Randy. Randy hits him with an RKO to the applause of the Vegas crowd, but this allowed Cody Rhodes to put Randy into a crossroads. 1, 2, 3. Cody Rhodes remains the WWE champion. But that wasn't quite the end. That's the thing, this never happens at WrestleMania. Once the match is over, usually things are done. that's usually it, at least for the opponents within the match. If there's someone who was, outside of the match, like Braun Breaker, for instance, earlier, they might do something. But especially if it's the main event, usually nothing else happens after the match is over aside from celebrations and maybe a handshake or something. And maybe they did this partially because it was night one of the pay-per-view, not the grand finale of the weekend. But after the match, when Cody's celebrating, Randy grabs the title, bashes Cody Rhodes in the head with it, and then the move that was once banned, he goes back to 09 Orton, and he just punts the ever-living daylights out of Cody Rhodes' head, which Cody was kind of in rough shape before, but his eye was just swollen afterwards. Like, they had to treat it right afterwards. And he was on Raw on Monday. Oh my goodness, that thing is black and blue all over. But yeah, this match in and of itself, I gave it an A- because I did want Randy Orton to win. I am a Cody Rhodes fan. I am a Cody crybaby. I will defend Cody Rhodes for at least for a very long time. We'll see things can change, obviously, based on what a person does. But in storyline, I will rarely complain about Cody Rhodes getting opportunities. He's worked for it. He's earned it. He is QB1. Big babyface stars. Shocker, people. Unless you weren't watching when Hogan, Austin, and Cena were things, the popular people get title matches. The guy that the company sees as the number one guy gets title matches. That's kind of how they are the number one guy, QB1. But I did want Randy to win this match, but this match was solid because a lot of it didn't have Pat McAfee involved. And hey, Pat, you said you'd never be seeing WWE again if Randy lost. So if you want to commentate again, I'm welcome for that to happen, but never get in the main event scene like this ever again. Do not be. We've had celebrities be champion before in WCW. David Arquette was the WCW champion. We're not going back. I wasn't there, but we're not going back. I'm okay with this. If Randy gets 15 later without McAfee involved, which this is setting up, there's no way Cody and Randy are done. This rivalry could go through the summer. All right, then some end of night one awards. Match of the night, Seth versus Gunther, pretty easily. I liked some other matches this night. I'm not as low as some other people. I kind of give this night kind of a 6.5-ish range out of 10, while some people are saying 2. I liked it. What they showed was good. Obviously, a lot of matches needed to be longer, and then things would be good. But I liked pretty much all of the decisions. And yeah, I obviously wanted Randy to win, but if it means we don't have to suffer through the more of the Pat McAfee stuff, I'm good with it. Moment of the night, I go with the return of Paige. That was an amazing moment. I wish dirt sheets and stuff didn't exist because that was kind of spoiled. Like, there were reports of Paige signing a new contract with WWE. Stop doing it. This is wrestling. This isn't the NFL where, contract, report it. This is WWE. Let people be surprised. That's the whole freaking point. God, I hate those people that show that stuff. Surprise of the night, I went with Bianca Belair's pregnancy. That was a surprise that she was even there. Congratulations to them. That's a great thing. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a surprise for Tez and Bianca, though. Entrance of the night, I went with Cody's entrance. I didn't discuss this during their match, but Cody had an amazing entrance. They had these mannequins set up in Cody's old gear. They had the gear for just the tights when he made his debut. They had the mask for when he was undashing Cody Rhodes with Smoke and Mirrors, early 2010s, IC champ Cody Rhodes, Stardust, the infamous part of Cody Rhodes. Although I actually was really into Stardust a little bit when I was a kid. I would kind of draw stars onto my hands with markers and highlighters and stuff. I thought that was just the coolest thing when I was 8 or 9. And then obviously, you have the WrestleMania and big event. Since they have the big stages, they build the Cody Vader that brings him up from under the stage. and he's plastered in his gold robes. Oh, another mannequin had his American Nightmare robe on it. But yeah, this time he's got his gold-plated robes, a gold-plated skull mask like the logo on his neck tattoo. And obviously he gets all the pyro on the planet. Just an amazing entrance. Funniest moment of the night, I went with when IShowSpeed had LA Knight in a headlock, and LA Knight just kind of picked him up because there wasn't too much comedy this night of WrestleMania, but there's future time for that. All right, that does it for night 1 of WrestleMania 42. I will, shortly after this comes out, I will do the night 2 episode of WrestleMania. I'm not 100% sure. Sometime this week, sometime in a few days after I'm filming this, I will come in and edit. Probably, this is a Tuesday. I'll probably edit this either Friday or Saturday and get it published afterwards. But there is no opening to me to do the night 2 podcast until not this Friday, but next Friday. So there's going to be about a week gap between the 2 episodes. But hey, is what it is. I should have booked the studio earlier. Should have been a little more proactive, but hey, what are you going to do? Hindsight's 2020. Thanks for watching this episode of That Film Podcast. Just a refresh from earlier. If you're still watching, thank you. I can't believe you still are. Thank you after listening to my rant about WWE for the last hour or so. But subscribe, comment. Comment if you watched WrestleMania. Comment what you like. If you didn't watch WrestleMania, comment if you found it interesting, or if you don't. Tell me to screw off. Just comment stuff, please. Just engage. I want to build an engaging community where people just discuss interesting things like wrestling, sports, and I am planning to do, after this new season ends, I'm going to do an episode on the show Invincible, which, if you're not familiar with, it's a superhero show, but I really enjoy it, and I'm going to do an episode on that soon. But otherwise, thank you for watching this episode. Have an amazing day.